Just like any subject, you need to show how what they're learning is important to the students' lives. So what I would start with is a video that talks about why learning math is important.
Math, 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 math.
Now the best video I've ever come across that talks about the importance of math is Neil deGrasse Tyson's. And in this he explains how math is important mainly because of the math. Of course, obviously you need some math for certain skills and everything else, but because of the problem solving skills that it gives you when you have to go through solving math. And I would use that as a starting point, and I would reference that all throughout the year as I am teaching my math. Now, to be honest, you're going to have some kids, or it's going to just fall upon deaf ears, right? No matter how many times you talk about everything else, because they're thinking, man, I wonder what's for lunch, or hey, look at that person over there. But if you're just talking about your general students and try to hit the mass amount of them with the importance of math, I would go with that video or something similar to it. And then, like I mentioned, you can go reference it all throughout the year. Hey, this is why we are learning the math. So now that I set the premise of why math is important, the next thing I want to do is lay out for my students what we're going to be learning throughout the year. So you see, here's the thing. The beautiful thing about math is it's skill-based. Is in order to get to point Z, you got to first go through A, then B, then C, get those skills, and those skills build upon each other. Now, to be 100% transparent, I'm not a math teacher. I've been teaching history for 20 years, but I understand how you build upon skills to get to a certain point. And math is the best example of that. So for example, what I would show my kids, let's say where I want to get to at the end of the year or end of the semester or somewhere, wherever I want to get to, let's say the end of the quarter, is I want them to be able to solve a multivariable equation. But in order to solve the multivariable equation, they first must learn how to solve an equation, one variable. But before they must learn how to solve that one equation, they have to know how to do the reciprocal. But before they have to do the reciprocal, they have to know the add, subtract, and you get the idea. And you work your way all the way down. Here's the ultimate outcome you want. But to get there, you have to work your way all the way down to the very basic skill. And so I would explain it to my students. This is where we are going. These are the skills you need to get there, and we're going to build upon it. Like a pyramid, here's my history side, like a pyramid, you got to build a foundation, and eventually as you build a foundation, you get the higher skills to eventually get to the point where you're able to solve the problem. And so I would explain to the students, this is where we're going, these are the skills we need to learn to get there. Then the third thing I would do is I would create some sort of system to monitor those skills. I came across something recently called a grid system. I didn't dive too much into it yet, but that sounds like something that would support the idea. But what if we come up with, I create a system so students can actually monitor where they are at on that skill. And I myself actually would display that on the screen. Not necessarily with the student's information. Like I don't want to say John Doe, is on skill number 33, while Susie's on skill number 2. I don't want to declare that to the world because it could definitely embarrass students and put them in an awkward position. But I would make that known to everybody. And so instead of using their names, maybe use their student ID number. But now what you have is students have an idea. Let's say they need 20 skills they're going to have to get down by the end of the quarter. And then they can monitor every time they master one of the skills, they could put a mark on it, an X mark or something showing that they mastered. Then they know they go on to the next skill and next skill. So it's a way of monitoring the students. And so what you're looking for is the grades, the academics is skill-based, not necessarily work-based. So you're trying to make sure they get the skills down. And so when they can see, now think about this, if you're in this class and you see that you are on skill 5 and everybody else is on skill number 8, it may be more motivational to you to man, I don't want to be behind everybody else, to work a little harder. And if you're on skill number 10 and everybody else is on skill number 5, that is a reassurance to you, a reaffirmation of how well you are doing, and you're probably more inclined to continue working hard. And so you'd want to create some system like that where you can monitor the skills. Students can see where they are at on those skills with the hopes that they would have a desire to move towards the right direction, especially when they see everybody else move in the right direction. And we make that visible to students, once again, not necessarily their name, but with some sort of code so they know who they are. Now, the fourth thing you want to do is think how you're actually going to structure your class. Because math, you have all these different skills students have to acquire, and they all come at you with different skills already. proficiencies and lack of proficiencies already. And so you're going to have to try to teach the masses somewhat, but they're at all different skills. And so how you structure becomes very important, especially in math. And this is how I would structure it. Now, there's certain things that all students would do. So all students would come to my class and we have some sort of warm-up procedure, just to get the class setting right. And students have a warm-up procedure. The purpose of that warm-up procedure is for students to get the right tone of the class. And it's not necessarily hard for them. It's something that every student could do. Because the last thing you want to do is students wait for you to show them how to do the exercise or do the activity because maybe they don't have the skills or know exactly what to do. You don't want that. You need that time period to take care of your housekeeping stuff. And so I was thinking, brainstorming some ideas here. Maybe I have for them a real easy math problem that I know everybody can do. Or maybe it's real basic multiplication table that I know everybody can do, or at least part of it, right? And so you would have something like that that's somewhat standardized. Now that takes the first 5 minutes or so of class. Then from there, because you have the kids know exactly where that, and you're going to know exactly where that because you're monitoring for skills. And so you have easy access to see where each student's at. And so what I would do is there's going to probably be, maybe a class of 30 kids. You're probably going to have 5 kids that are way beyond where you're teaching at right now. And so those 5 kids, what I would do is I basically would have them go off to the side and work independently on something. Maybe you have a computer program that works on that. That'd be great. Or maybe there's even a separate activity that they can work on together. Because at that level, chances are they'll be able to keep each other going. And then you're going to have probably about 25 students that are kind of more not quite advanced. Each one still has different skills. And then I might give them the direct instruction for that day. But then here's the key part about it. I might group them off differently. All right, so they can work on the activity. Maybe some work together, maybe some work independently, maybe you work with a few. But the key is this: for math, and specifically for math, you got to know where everybody is at. Those students that can work independently, you let them work independently. Those kids that need more guidance and everything else, you work with them more guidance. Now, I ain't gonna lie, it gets extremely difficult differentiating instruction. It gets extremely difficult doing that. But it is possible. But the key is you got to know where each student's at, and you got to be able to know what students can work independently so you can focus on the rest of them. But the overall goal is for them to progress on that skills. And you keep referencing back to the skill chart that this is where we need to go. And the final thing is regarding that skill chart, you want to make sure students are accountable. You want to make sure students know exactly where they are at. You'll have it displayed. But I would always go back to that when I'm having a conversation with a student. And I would say, hey, John, you're on skill number 3. People are on skill number 5. Let's get you to that skill number 5. And so you can have specific conversations. But in order for that to happen, the kids have to know exactly where they're at. They have to self-monitor their progress with the hopes that the more they self-monitor their progress, the more inclined they're going to be to get caught up with everybody else.